Hi, this is day 8. So, day 8, I went to my mentor for a check-in, and we talked about a lot. She said that this was coming along quite nicely. The last time she saw it was in the very beginning stages when I was blocking the colors, and I was doing it wrong. So, she said that it came along quite nicely once I illuminated the palette, and took out the green entirely, started glazing the sky and whatnot. I'm fairly happy with the sky by this point. As you can kind of see here, I already have the colors laid down for the lighter portions. And the darker portions, they're there as well, but it's just kind of harder to see. I feel like it's pretty good already. So, the people, I talked to my mentor about the people problem, and she said that if you don't want to glaze it, that's fine. Just straight up paint it and gradient it like you would normal paintings. The problem with glazing the people is that usually the glazes that I do are fairly large in area, but I mean even here is kind of tiny, but trying to glaze these people and make a good gradient with them is very hard because the people are like the size of my thumb, so scale here, so it's kind of hard, and I have to figure out how to do the clothes and their arms and whatnot to make them look real. So I still need to continue glazing the blue stripes to make them look darker, as well as the blue right here for the shadow. Might need to do some more with that as well. I figured out how to do the windows at long last. I'm just gonna paint them like normal windows, and then go back over them with glaze like I did with the door. This still needs more work as usual. Haven't really got around to doing this yet. It's on day 9, which is today's agenda though. So day 8, after I came home from our mentor visit, I decided that I should go ahead and plot out where the bubbles and the cranes go. The bubbles and the cranes weren't in my original sketch, but they have always been there. Um, they're kind of what I wanted this painting to look like. Very playful, very relaxing, very childlike. So the bubbles. Originally, my mentor and I mapped out where the bubbles would go and where the cranes would go, but I figured out that I really wanted to see it on the big canvas because drawing a miniature thumbnail sketch of it might not actually work. So at first I thought about using the tape to do the whole map the bubbles out thing, but then the tape has problems turning corners. So in the end I used some string that I had left over from my last project and just taped it, I guess. Between the two strings of the same color will be where the bubbles go. So once I had that, at first this never changed at all, but this went from here to here and then finally to there. And yeah, a second. Sorry. And then this was originally here and then was here and finally it twisted here. So the three paths are as shown right here. And the red dots that you see here, 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 and whatnot are actually where the cranes are going to be. At first, my mentor suggested that I have a flock of cranes descending like from right here across and overlapping the bubbles and ending about right here. But then I decided that a whole flock of cranes would just take away the attention from the buildings and the sky and the bubbles. Um, so I decided against that. Instead, I put in individual cranes where those red dots are, maybe around 15 max. And I'm gonna have them behave very bird-like in this picture. You know, sitting on roofs, pecking on the ground, and flying along, poking at the bubbles. And that will emphasize the bird-like nature of them, which is what I wanted them to do. I wanted them to look like, not look like, but behave like real birds, even though they're not real. Because real birds are kind of annoying. At least cranes don't poop on you. And things that I want to go over in one of those vids, I actually have a list for it right here. List of things I want to go over. So some questions that I might as well answer beforehand. How many hours do I spend painting per day? Because you hear me talking about working on them in days. Well, the hours I spend increase progressively as the deadline draws by. So by now, which I have like a week left, I'm spending like 2 or 3 hours on it a day. Um, but at first it started out fairly small, with like half an hour, an hour, and then midway through it was about an hour to an hour and a half, which is kind of typical because that's how long the classes are. Our classes are at my school. So yeah, that's how much time I spend on it per day. But I'm definitely going to spend more time on it. And just to let you know, I maxed out my 15 hours thing by now, I think by like 2 days ago, maybe. Well, I already maxed out 15 hours, but this piece I actually plan on entering in the show, so I'm going to spend more than 15 hours on it. And hopefully the grad project judges won't fail me. Hint, hint. um, okay, so what music do I typically play? Because I have said that I play music while I paint. Well, sometimes I just put a song on repeat, like yesterday's song was Viva La Vida by Coldplay. So while working on it, I just set it on repeat and it ran itself some 17 times before I stopped it. Other times I go on YouTube, pick out a song, or just head over to my playlist. The playlist usually consists of rock band songs, some other miscellaneous songs, some piano songs, usually depending on how I feel. So usually I just go on my other YouTube account and set a playlist. Or sometimes I go to Pandora. Pandora.com is an online radio which recommends songs for you, depending on what songs you put in as your preference. So sometimes I go to Pandora and listen to their songs, find new songs, and yeah, or sometimes I just don't put any songs on. I'm listening to the birds outside, and the crickets chirping and whatnot. That works fine too. My studio, as you notice by the background of this painting, is fairly well lit. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 light bulbs worth of lights on. It does get a little bit hot in here, but I want to see my painting if I paint. So, I took a picture of all this planning stuff. So I'm going to print out that picture. It takes down all this tape and strings. Well, the tape won't be sticking to my glaze and peeling off the glaze like I feared. See? No glaze. At first I feared that the tape would be strong enough to peel off layers of my glaze, but it didn't because it's drafting tape, so it doesn't stick too well, which is good. It sticks well enough to keep the string on there, but not well enough to peel off glaze. I think masking tape could have done that. Could have just took the glaze off, but I don't know. I would rather not risk it. Drafting tape is a lot more gentle. So that's that. That's day 8. And day 9's agenda, which is today's agenda, is quite hefty. But I'll manage.